If you're just recently getting into PC gaming and need to get yourself a good monitor, or if you've been playing games on your PC for a while now and just are looking to upgrade, we put together a list of monitors here that cover a good amount of what monitors have to offer. Today on Game Ranks, we're here to talk about the 10 best gaming monitors of 2017. And just a quick disclaimer, we ordered this a bit unconventionally. We tried to prioritize a good balance between reasonable price and features, so the order of this list will reflect that. And if you're curious, we linked each monitor on this list below in the description. We're going to start off by talking about ultra-wide monitors. More specifically, we're going to be talking about the AOC Agon or Agon AG352UCGA, which is a monitor that is just as big as its name. Okay, bad joke. This thing is a beast. It's 35 inches, has a 3440 by 1440 resolution, a 21:9 aspect ratio. It's curved, has a 1 millisecond response time, and a 100 Hz refresh rate. And it's an IPS panel. Yeah, I know, it's a lot to take in. Oh, and it also has G-Sync support. Design-wise, this thing looks like a gaming monitor. It doesn't have as an aggressive design as the Acer Predator, but still very gamer. Like, it just looks like it's meant for a PC gamer. Performance-wise, this thing kills it. With its 1440p resolution combined with it being an IPS display, makes your games really pop. And its odd aspect ratio is something we need to talk about. When you're playing a first-person shooter, it is so immersive, and because of the aspect ratio, you have an advantage while playing. You're actually able to see more of the map and enemies that you wouldn't see on a normal monitor. And with its refresh rate of 100 Hz combined with Nvidia's G-Sync, you're going to be getting smooth as butter frame rates. And that on top of the resolution and the aspect ratio, you're going to be lucky if your eyes don't melt from awesomeness. But for all this awesomeness, you're going to need a lot of space because this thing is really big. It takes up a lot of desk space. You're also going to need a pretty decent rig to really take full advantage of what this monitor has to offer. And you're also gonna have to have access to some money because this thing is pretty expensive. This monitor is gonna run you $900, but if you want an awesome gaming experience and you wanna have your games look as good as they can, that's the price you're gonna have to pay. And next up at number 9, we have the LG 34UC79GB, which is another widescreen curved display, but it's essentially a toned back version of the AOC that we just talked about. That has a resolution of 2560 by 1080p. This monitor is 34 inches. It also supports AMD's FreeSync. From a spec standpoint, the AOC is definitely better, but because of the LG's lower resolution, playing games on this display is a lot less taxing on your GPU and also has a higher refresh rate at 144 Hz. So you'll be able to push more frames per second. And with AMD's FreeSync on top of that, you're going to be running your games really smooth. This monitor also doesn't look as aggressive as other gaming monitors, which is a plus in my book. On the back of the display, you'll find 2 HDMI ports, 1 display port, and 2 USB 3 ports. Plus, you also have an audio jack. And because the resolution isn't higher than 1080, this is a great monitor if you're looking to get into the ultra-wide monitor game, but you don't have a super powerful graphics card. You can get this and really not miss out on much performance. And moving on to number 8, we have the Acer Predator XB321HK, which is a beast of a monitor that requires a beast of a PC to take full advantage of what it can actually do. True 4K gaming is such a sought-after experience, and for that experience, you're usually paying top dollar. Not only would you need a PC that's rocking like two 1080s or something crazy like that, but you need an insane monitor to push it through, and that's where this bad boy comes in. It's rocking a 3840 by 2160 4K UHD resolution, and with a 32-inch screen size, you can really appreciate how pretty 4K really looks. Even the 32 might be a little too much monitor for some people. I know it is for me. It's an IPS panel, so regardless of your viewing angle, you're going to get super crisp and vibrant colors. On the response time and refresh rate side of things, there really isn't anything to boast about. You have a 4 millisecond response time, which really isn't bad at all. It'll get the job done. And you're going to have a 60 Hz refresh rate with no option to overclock. For someone like me who plays on a 144 Hz monitor, jumping down to 60 Hz is definitely going to be noticeable, and making the change might not be something you're willing to do because of that. You really have to decide if you want a better resolution or a better FPS. But that's the thing with 4K. With 4K, you're usually picking one or the other. And while 60 Hz isn't the refresh rate that we all want, the monitor is G-Sync compatible, which means that even at a lower frame rate, you're getting a very smooth and steady FPS. My monitor has G-Sync, and I will say that it does work, and it's a nice extra thing to have, as long as you have an Nvidia graphics card, that is. It also has surprisingly decent built-in speakers, along with 1 HDMI port, 1 display port, and 1 USB 3 port. So if you have the rig to support this thing, and you have like $1,300 lying around, it's definitely worth checking out. And at number 7, we have the Dell P2715Q, which is a more affordable 4K monitor. If you don't have the $1,300 it costs to get the Acer Predator, which is totally reasonable, this monitor is a good one to look at, seeing that it only costs $480 at the time of making this video. It's pretty standard, there's nothing really crazy going on. You get 3840 by 2160 resolution on a 27 IPS display. The biggest bummer with this monitor is the response time. You have an 8.6 millisecond response time in normal mode and a 6 millisecond response time when you have it in fast mode. But for most people, I really don't think you'll notice much of a difference unless you have an eye for that sort of thing. You're also getting a 60Hz refresh rate here. The monitor looks really nice too, and it looks like it was very well made. The arm it's sitting on lets you bring the monitor up pretty high and low enough to where it's almost sitting on its own base. There also isn't any G-Sync or FreeSync support here, so that's something you were sold on. Getting this monitor definitely isn't going to be for you. But besides that, I think for the price, this is definitely a very good entry-level 4K monitor. Moving on to number 6, I have one more 4K monitor for you, and this one being a lot more affordable than the last two. The Asus MG28UQ is a 28-inch 3840 by 2160 resolution monitor that has a 1 millisecond response time and a 60Hz refresh rate with AMD FreeSync technology. This monitor is priced between $400 and $450, which makes it a very affordable 4K monitor, and part of what makes it so affordable is that it has a TN panel, which I know scares some people away, but TN isn't as bad as you think, and it's totally doable. And seeing that you need a pretty expensive PC to push 4K past 60 frames per second, this monitor hits a sweet spot. And because your FPS will rarely stay stable when playing in 4K, AMD's FreeSync is perfect here. It operates within 40Hz and 60Hz, and it would be nice if it was knocked a little lower down to 30Hz, because for a lot of people, getting past 30 FPS in 4K can be pretty difficult. But if you are making it over that, FreeSync works really well with this to prevent screen tearing and keeping your game running smoothly. So while this monitor isn't a beast and definitely has its downfalls, like being a TN panel for example, I think for the price and the specs, you're getting your money's worth here. I think this is a great entry point into 4K gaming monitors. You won't be breaking the bank, which is good because you probably just spent a ton of money just getting your PC 4K ready. And moving on to number 5, we have the Asus VG248QE. This monitor comes in at 24 inches with a resolution of 1920 by 1080 with a fast response time of 1 millisecond and a refresh rate of 144 Hz. It also has AMD's FreeSync. FreeSync is something that's built into the monitor that works to prevent screen tearing, but it only works with FreeSync enabled AMD graphics card. So your GPU and your monitor will both be working together to keep your games at a solid frame rate so you don't get hit with screen tearing, and it's another alternative for when VSync just doesn't work. So when your graphics card is more than 60 frames per second and you have a 60Hz monitor, you're going to encounter screen tearing because your monitor just can't keep up with the amount of frames that it's getting. What FreeSync does is, well, it syncs up your monitor and your graphics card. They communicate directly with each other to give you a solid frame rate with no screen tearing. But because this monitor has a 144Hz refresh rate, meaning that it displays a new image 144 times per second, you may not even need FreeSync unless you have a graphics card that's super overkill for a 1080p display. If you're way more into the idea of having higher frame rates than running games at 1440p, or if you have a rig that can't run 1440p, especially at higher frame rates, or if you think 1080p is just fine for you, this is a great monitor that's only priced at like $270-ish. And next up at number 4, we have the Acer R240HY. And I guess you could call this the budget monitor of the list, being priced at only $130. It's a 23.8 1920 by 1080p display. It has a 4 millisecond response time and a 60Hz refresh rate, and you can overclock it to 75 Hz. And it's also an IPS display, which is also a huge bonus. There really isn't anything special about this monitor. There isn't any FreeSync or G-Sync. This thing has a razor thin bezel though, and it's really nice to look at. This is just a plain old monitor that's still good for gaming. Yeah, you aren't getting a super beautiful resolution and you aren't going to be running your games at 100 frames per second, but you're still going to be getting a very good quality image. If you're someone that's playing CSGO competitively, then yeah, this definitely isn't for you, but if you're more of a casual gamer, it's fine, it's affordable. It's also a great monitor for everyday use. There really isn't much more to add than that. For the price, it's a very solid buy, and you'll definitely be getting your money's worth. And moving on to number 3, here we have the Asus VG245H. This monitor is actually branded as a console gaming monitor, and it's great for that, but it's also a pretty solid budget PC gaming monitor as well. It comes in at 24 inches and has a 1920 by 1080p display with a 1 millisecond response time and a 75Hz refresh rate, and it also has AMD FreeSync support. So with that refresh rate and that response time, ghosting and blurriness really isn't going to be an issue whether you're on PC or console. Unfortunately though, this does have a TN panel, so the colors are okay and passable, but that's definitely where this monitor really falls short. Seeing that most console games don't hit or go above 60 frames per second, the 75Hz refresh rate is gonna be fine. You're actually not even gonna take full advantage of it. But if you have a PC, that's a totally different story. And even though Asus is marketing this as a console gaming monitor, it has AMD FreeSync, which means this is totally meant for PC gaming as well. This is a great choice for a PC gamer who's working with a budget. At $200 for the features you're getting with this monitor, it's a pretty good deal. And moving on to number 2, we're going to start talking about 1440 monitors, which I think is the sweet spot for PC gaming currently. This one in particular is the Dell Gaming S2715Q, and this is actually the monitor that I personally use every day. It's 27 inches and has a 2560 by 1440 resolution display. It has 1 millisecond response time in fast mode and 144Hz refresh rate, and it also has G-Sync support. It's priced usually between $550 and $600, but I've seen it go on sale quite a few times for $450, which is what I actually paid for mine. The biggest downfall here is that it's a TN display, which is a difference you're going to notice if you come from an IPS panel like I did. But the difference isn't something that makes a game look unplayable. And coming from 1080p, everything automatically looks better anyway because you're in 1440, so everything just looks sharper. And being able to get near 144 frames per second is a huge win. Aesthetically, the monitor wins here too. It's very sleek looking and it has a pretty thin bezel. For the price, it isn't half bad. Yeah, it's a bummer that it's a TN display and I was kind of going back and forth with that before I purchased it. But besides that, I think you're getting an overall good 1440 monitor here. And moving on to number 1, our top pick for 1440p gaming and our top pick in general would be the Asus ROG Swift VG24715Q. If you don't have a powerful enough PC to run games at 4K, 1440 is the next best thing. It's a noticeable difference coming from 1080p and it's obviously not as demanding as 4K. So you get a really pretty resolution and you don't have to sacrifice your FPS, which is something you're doing with 4K. Seeing that most 4K monitors don't even go above 60 Hz, you're losing a lot when it comes to your frame rate. And all of this is achievable without your graphics card screaming in agony. With this monitor, you're getting a 27-inch 2560 by 1440p resolution, a 4 millisecond response time, and 144Hz refresh rate that you can actually overclock to 165 Hz. You're getting an IPS panel here, which is good because you're going to get awesome refresh rate and not miss out on any overall picture quality or have viewing angle problems that you would with a TN panel. You also get G-Sync support here, which is always a plus. And then of course, there's your HDMI and display ports, one of each, standard stuff, nothing crazy. And honestly, for a PC gamer that isn't quite 4K ready yet and that keeps their machine semi up to date, this is kind of the perfect monitor for you. The biggest con with this one though is definitely the price. It comes in at $800, which is a little expensive, especially if you just built a new PC or upgraded to a better graphics card, but you are 100% getting what you pay for with this monitor. And those are the 10 best gaming monitors of 2017, but we want to hear from you. Meet us down in the comments and let us know what you think. And as always, hitting that like button really helps us out, and if you're new here for some reason, we put out videos like this every single day, and the best way to get them is by subscribing to the channel. And as always, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time, right here on Game Ranks.